Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the C.L. Bryant Show. I am C.L. Bryant, and I want to thank you all for joining us here in the jewel cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier City, and, of course, all of our friends who are listening in southern Arkansas and East Texas. Thank you for tuning in 101.7 FM, 101.7 FM on your radio dial, or 710 Keel AM, and download the free C.L. Bryant Show app onto your iPhone or your Android device and listen to us on the go wherever you may roam. Be happy to go along with you. Also, we have our website, TheCLBryantShow.com. Like us on Facebook. Well, and hey, our folks in Wilmington, North Carolina, thank you for being there as well. And I want to say congratulations to my good friend, Chef Giuseppe Brucia, who has opened up the Pasta Cafe there at 920 Piermont. When you enter in, just go in and check him out. I'm telling you, food's just as fabulous as it always has been for the last 40 years, over 40 years that I have known him. Yeah, Chef Giuseppe Brucia's Pasta Cafe. Now, folks, listen. I believe that coming up tonight, we will have a Supreme Court Justice nominee. At least that's in the plan. That seems to be the plan for tonight. President DJT, will be coming on in prime time, I think around 7:05 our time, and we'll try to follow along with you, pardon me, here in studio to bring you the up-to-date, up-to-the-minute blow by blow on that. In case you're traveling down the road, we'll be able to tell you who it is he has selected. I believe it is going to be Judge Neil Gorsuch, and I believe he would be the best choice for conservatives, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that works out. I do know this about him. I know that he is an incredible religious liberty guy. He has always been strong on that. Little Sisters of the Poor can be a testament to that. One of his stance that he made on that was, it is not up to the courts or the government to decide what is and what is not a recognized religion. And it's important. It's important. That stance alone is important, because when we look at our rights, I'm going to talk about this in the next segment. When we look at our rights as Americans, our religious freedoms should not be limited or impeded at all at any point in time. It's a 24-hour-a-day right that you have, and that is to express yourself in the faith that you choose. That's why all of these things where the kids are, brought to the principal's office with the scriptures that they may have on their lunch boxes or what have you, or a T-shirt that might have a scripture on it if you go to a public school. That's why all of that is just absolutely insane. I'm gonna visit that with you when I return, because that is a right. All of the rights that you have in the Bill of Rights, those are 24-hour-a-day rights. Every day that you're an American, every day that you're an American citizen, those rights are yours. All 24 hours of the day. And one of the things that's scaring the daylights out of progressive liberals is the fact that the court now very well could be stacked with people who believe what I just said. The literal interpretation and the literal intent of the American Constitution. That is the guideline for us being Americans, and it is the guideline for us having the types of freedoms that has made this nation a great. Anyway, the day after that, Netanyahu, I don't think it's going to be that way. Come the 15th, I think he will be welcomed as a state guest, and I do believe that we will have a renewed relationship with our friends in Israel. Now, when I come back, I want to talk about this particular right that we have as Americans. And I want to visit this thing that they're trying to hang on Trump as being a racist for labeling those 7 nations. Be right back. I'm CL. CL back with you on this Tuesday here in the jeweled cities of the, what's this, Wednesday? Today's Tuesday. Folks, I still haven't gotten my sea legs back, or no, my earth. I still haven't gotten off the ship. I've been on a roller coaster like you cannot believe, but it's all good. Now listen, as we enter into this new era of Americanism, I would encourage all of you to get with the program and understand what this nation is truly about. Get yourself, I carry with me, I've been carrying it now for at least 10 years straight. It goes everywhere I go. It's my pocket Constitution. It's my pocket Declaration of Independence. Of course, all the Bill of Rights and everything is here. Breaks them down. Very easy read. Every American should know what's contained in the Constitution of the United States. But this is what I wanted to point out to you. As we enter into this new era of Americanism, and we are entering into a new era of Americanism, I want you to understand that there are progressive liberals who are off the rails, crazy, not knowing what they're talking about, and they will fool you and your children and the people who are teaching your children, because they don't know what's contained in the Constitution of the United States, especially in these days and times where we're talking about religious and religious liberties, religious rights in this country, because the Muslim American thing is not going to go away. The Christian Muslim thing is not going to go away. The Jewish American Christian thing is not going to go away. So we need to know what the Constitution, the guideline to our nation, says about certain things. The very first amendment, the very first statement made in our Bill of Rights is this: Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion, or, listen to this, or prohibit the free exercise thereof. That's the important part right there. When your child or you go to your school, to your business, to wherever it is, there cannot be any laws made by this government, your Congress, your House of Representatives, your Senate. There cannot be any laws made that prohibits the free exercise of what? Of your religious choice. When you go to your school, your child goes to your school, it does not matter if it's a public school. There is no such thing as separation of church and state. That is a fallacy. But if your child decides to wear "Yes, Jesus loves me" or any one of the commandments on his T-shirt or stamped across his forehead or her forehead, there is no law that can be made that prohibits that. Why? Because of what I was telling you from the very beginning. Your rights are your rights 24 hours a day as an American citizen. This does not stop just because you walk onto a public school. This doesn't stop because you go to you have a right as an American to go to your job and have a Bible on your desk. You have that right. If they hire you knowing you're a Christian, you have that right. Or whatever it is. And so we're going to have to bring some sanity back to all of this, because this is the first thing that the founding fathers thought of when it came to giving us what would be the rights that the people should have. And the first thing out of the gate was that when we elect people to office, they shall make, not they may not make, but they shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Or, and this is the most important part of that first sentence, or prohibit the free exercise thereof. Congress can't tell you what time it is as far as your faith is concerned. Now, let me clarify. I hire you to do a job for me, and all you want to do is sit and read your Bible, you're fired. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I hire you to do a job for me and all you want to do is talk about Jesus, you're fired. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I didn't hire you to do that. I hired you to do the job that I hired you to do for me. But if I want to express my faith by wearing my Jesus First t-shirt, by wearing my God Loves You t-shirt, then there's no law that should stop me from expressing that. Now, you can talk about Jesus and whatever you want to on your break and win as many souls on your break. But while you are working for me, making widgets, I expect you to make widgets. And then you can talk about Jesus on the break. Don't get that twisted.
1 minute.
Okay? And so when I'm talking about the free exercise there, don't go crazy thinking that, well, I can go to my job tomorrow because CL said we have free exercise. No, I'm not talking about that. When the man hires you to work at Walmart to sell whatever, that's what you're there to do. Now, on your break, you can do whatever you want to do because your American rights follow you all the time, 24 hours a day. All right? So I want to thank all of our sponsors for sponsoring the CL Bryant Show, and we'll take some of your calls when I return. 320-5335, 320-5335, 318-320-5335. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere.
In worn-out shoes.
Yeah, get that motor running. Head out on the highway with your American self. Yeah, and understand that you have a great right contained in so few words. It's an easy read. Pick you up a pocket Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and learn about who you are and the gift that our founders gave to every one of us who would become citizens. Thank you for listening, all of you, 318-320-5335. I have John on the line. John, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, friend?
Hey, CL, listen, this discussion about religious freedom and kids in the public school, I'm a Christian first and foremost, but do you feel that all religions should have that same umbrella of freedom?
All religions do have that same umbrella of freedom in the United States, every one of them. In fact, it's our Constitution that gives everybody else the Judeo-Christian ethic, John, gives everybody else who practices a different religion the right to practice their faith. And
I agree with you 100%, but Caddo Parish school system, and I speak from knowledge because I have a kid in the system, the Caddo Parish student handbook says that no satanic related apparel may be worn.
well, then if you have if that Satanist and this is the evil and the beauty of being an American. It's the evil and the beauty of being a Christian, John. Let me share this with you. I had a dear mentor many years ago, Pastor Adrian Rogers, Memphis, Tennessee, and he said this to me many years ago. He said that God created everything, and every Adam and Eve, if you believe the story, perfect. The world was perfect. But what God also did was create perfect choice. And he gave that to his creation, man, gave him perfect choice. Now, what God didn't do was make the wrong choice. The man make the wrong choice. That's what happened. And the Satanist, even though he lives in America, making the wrong choice. America is the country that it most resembles the love of God because we let people choose how they will live their lives. And
I just don't understand how, if it's going to be equality of religious freedom, how can Christian practice be okay on the front of a T-shirt and satanic practice not be okay on the
that's not constitutional, John. They can't tell the Satanist kid, hey, because see, if listen, we don't have to worry about God being defeated if we're Christian the way we believe. Ours will always the sun will always outshine the darkness. We don't have to be afraid of that. But
I'm telling you, it's Caddo Parish, Paul.
Yeah, we don't have to be afraid of that. We have to just simply let our lights shine. And the only reason that somebody who happens to disagree with us, and 2 million, they're there to learn, to be educated. And the only way to truly be educated is to understand what is out there and have someone who is coherent and understanding what they're about. Because see, most teachers, they're programmed these days. George Soros has taken over our school system, and that is what's happening, even though he's probably a Satanist himself.
He looks kind of sketchy.
You understand. But folks, John, I do thank you for your call, and I thank you so much for listening to the show.
Thanks for listening to it.
You betcha. And folks, when you understand the beauty of America, then you have to understand that America is for citizens. We have a Judeo-Christian ethic, yes. And we shouldn't have to burn anybody who disagrees with that at the stake. We just simply have to live the life we sing about in our song. Because when we look at what is going on in this country right now, we don't have any type of dialogue. We don't talk to one another. If this person appears to be different than me, if this person appears to believe differently than me, then right now in this country, the Democrats are definitely showing this much more than the Republicans, and they're the ones who are supposed to be tolerant. There were Trump people simply wearing a cap in places that some progressive liberals thought they shouldn't be, that were jumped on, beaten up just the other day. And so we have lost the ability to have conversation in this country. Whether you got the kid wearing the Satan t-shirt or the kid wearing I Love Jesus t-shirt, hey, we should teach that I Love Jesus t-shirt wearing kid how to be a great apologist. And I don't mean apologizing for being a Christian. I mean understanding how to defend his faith. The same way that those who are against the faith are very much versed in what they are wanting to attack the faith with, so we can have dialogue. And I promise you, I've had a lot of these discussions, been on a lot of these debates, and every time when I'm talking about Americanism against communism, Americanism wins all the time. When I'm talking about Christianity versus atheism, Christianity wins out all the time. If it cannot be tested, folks, it cannot be trusted. My faith can be tested because I can trust it. My Americanism can be tested because it can be trusted. I trust it with all of my heart, both of them. Be right back. Pastor Tim Carskadden when I return.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL back with you on this Tuesday here in the Jewel Cities of the Arklatex, streaming live throughout the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. Our relationship with Israel is very important to world peace. And with me now is Tim Carskadden, who has been on the show many times, and he is with AIPAC, and it's American Israeli
Public Affairs Committee.
And he's going to tell us about some things that are coming up. Tim, how have you been? Welcome back to the show.
Been really good. Glad to be here, and love talking about Israel and our relationship, especially since the new administration has come into office now. I think the dynamics of the American-Israeli relationship has changed drastically in a matter of 1 month. I would say that. So we are excited about that. I'm not a spokesman for AIPAC, but I'm a pro-Israel person, and I'm on their national council. But I do say it is an exciting time for Israel and the American relationship, and I really think we can repair many bridges that were torn down through the last administration. And you've talked about them on this show many times.
Would the continued deterioration of the relationship between Israel and America continue if Hillary let's talk about this. What if, let's do a what if, at this point in time, Clinton had become president? What would be the prognosis?
Well, AIPAC is a bipartisan organization, and so we try to work with both sides. Obviously, Hillary has been pro-Israel to a certain extent through the years. Bill was to an extent. We always say that, to an extent. Her pro-Palestinian stances, her issues on settlements, which was a big issue that we're facing right now. She was against settlements. She was for the two-state solution, and settlements was a sticking point. When we talk about this international law of occupation and so forth, she agrees with the United Nations stances on that, and obviously President Trump does not agree with those stances. And even the Congress recently, who confronted the new UN resolution 2334, stood up and said, no, we don't agree with that, as Kerry and Obama both said they do agree with this. So I think you would have seen more of that advancement of the anti-Israel sentiment in the nation as well as in policy. So I think we have a chance now to reverse that and begin to grow a stronger relationship.
You and I can talk about this in a way that I certainly hope brings clarity to our audience, and that is the Palestinian question.
Yes.
The Palestinians, I want you, Pastor Tim Carskadden, to define for our listening audience, and audience, I want you to hear this. Who are the Palestinians? That is one of the most perplexing questions that I have to deal with when I go out and talk about Israel. Who are the Palestinians?
Yeah, I think that's a $64,000 question. For our listeners, there's a great website called Prager University. I'd encourage you to go there. They have some quick videos about who the Palestinian people are. You can look at that. But we know that they're somewhat of a made-up people. When they're the refugees from the whole Middle East, the majority of Palestinians, as we call them, are in Jordan. If you want to say what is the nation of the Palestinians, it is Jordan. And we see this Arafat, Yasser Arafat,
who was an Egyptian,
who used this Palestinian movement to advance himself, become a multi-millionaire, advance the movement. And we see this, that it was just a propaganda issue to come against Israel, and the Arab states joined with that. Nobody wants the Palestinians. Nobody wants to deal with them as a group of people, and they are just migrating Arabs. I guess that's a better way of looking at it. You see them in Syria. Many of them being persecuted by ISIS right now.
Right.
I think the Jordanians would be the best place. If you want to say where could they have a nation,
right?
They have a nation.
Why not Jordan?
Right.
Yeah. Why doesn't Jordan give them a piece of property,
Absolutely.
like they're asking Israel to do.
Absolutely.
Because I know Arafat was run out of Egypt for trying to overthrow the government.
Yes.
And he wound up there on the Gaza Strip. But this is the question that people are asking.
And we know that the two-state solution, the Palestinians are the pawn of the whole two-state solution issue. You know, I think for the first time in the Trump administration, you're hearing other ideas other than the two-state solution, which is unheard of. You know, AIPAC has said their stance is that they give Israel and the Palestinians the right to make their own decision on the two-state solution. I understand that. But the ideas now that are coming forth from the Trump administration is that let's look at another idea. This has not been working. The Palestinians have never been willing to recognize Israel as a Jewish state and the right to exist. I don't think they ever will do that.
No.
You know, one-state solution is an option. There are other options out there now. Maybe even making Palestinian Israelis and let them make the choice of that, come under Israeli rule and live as that way. So there are options for the first time, and I can't remember how many years, how many administrations where we are looking at other ideas other than a two-state solution. And I don't foresee, this is me speaking as a personal person, two-state solution ever working. Congressman Fleming and I talked about this in lobbying sessions, that he did not believe it work either.
Right.
And I think everybody, it's the elephant in the room. Nobody thinks this is going to work, but yet it's always the policy that's put forth. We just saw the Paris Initiative, which fell on its face.
Right.
Thank goodness to the Britons and the Balkan country, the Brits
Right.
and the Balkans, who said this is ridiculous.
Have you been in contact with Mike Johnson's office?
Yes, we really did push, especially on the UN resolution that came out. And Mike stood with us on that. Congressman Johnson did on that issue. It was overwhelming, the vote that came in the Senate and the House to just overthrow that UN resolution, which basically says that Israel doesn't have a right to the Temple Mount, that Israel is not historically tied to the land of Israel. Is the most ludicrous thing. If any nation historically has the right to say they're tied to a piece of land, Israel alone has that right to do that.
Now, when will AIPAC be taking place? Is that next month or March?
Yeah, we have our National Policy Conference, which is in March 25 through 27, where we'll be lobbying Congress as well. I encourage my Christians, if they're interested in being engaged and being part of the Christian outreach, they can go to AIPAC.org, and they can read about the policy conference, even consider attending it. And it's a whole policy conference. We believe President Trump will be there. Prime Minister Netanyahu will be there as well. We also hear from the left as well. We're bipartisan in that sense, so you can hear both sides of the story, and you can make your choice yourself. But it's a great opportunity to learn about the Israeli-American relationship.
And that's AIPAC.org.
Yes.
Folks, please go to AIPAC.org, AIPAC.org, and see what is available there on this question. This will be a very important question coming up in these next few years. I'm going to be back with Tim Carskaddon when we return. There's much more to talk about on this Israeli-American issue. Be right back. CL. Yeah, I was born in the USA and very, very proud of it. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Why don't you sing, CL? I'd like to hear you sing.
Yeah, man, that's one of my favorite songs, really. But I got to tell you, when we're talking about the winds of change that you were talking about during the break, and then there was something you shared with me. You got to share this with the audience right quick, Tim. And it's this: you said that Yasser Arafat, the basically the founder of the PLO,
that's right,
Palestinian Liberation Army, folks, organization. When he died, he had how much money?
We believe up to $8 million just in his account for himself.
But when he showed the Palestinians, they were just hand to mouth eating dirt.
That's right.
And he had $8 million.
Yeah, no, and we were talking about this in the break as well. When President Obama in his last moments tried to send the $221 million to the Palestinians, kind of his last lashing out at Netanyahu and Israel, I think, fortunately, President Trump was able to stop those funds from being transferred. And I think one of the key reasons was, and it came out in the reports, that last year the Palestinian organization rewarded suicide bombers in Israel and those who had stabbed Jewish people in Jerusalem. They rewarded them with over $140 million in reward for terrorist acts. And here we are, and we're not saying that our money goes for that, but if you're handing money over to the Palestinians, and we know they gave $140 million to suicide bombers, I think it's irresponsible for us to take U.S. taxpayer money without an assurance that money we're giving to them is not going for such acts. And we also know the United Nations schools that teach, in Gaza especially, that teach anti-Semitic behavior. Their textbooks teach Palestinians how to kill Jews, things like that. And so here we are funding those things, and I think there has been, and I will say President Obama did withhold some funding from the United Nations for such acts, but I think President Trump will ratchet that up even more so and withhold funding. I think they must be held accountable to their funding. When a guy who, Arafat, one thing I always looked at him, when you looked at his uniform, he'd wear this Palestinian uniform. Remember that?
Yeah, and the headdress.
And on the side of his jacket, he had an emblem of the state of Israel for Palestine, but it was the entire state of Israel. It wasn't just the West Bank and Gaza. He had the whole thing on the side of his jacket that he wore all the time. Basically,
let's talk about the UN right quick.
Yes.
United Nations, New York City. It has had a lot of sway, and I think if Hillary had become president, Obama would be Secretary General of the UN, most likely. That could have happened.
Yes. But
have they outlived their usefulness, Tim?
Well, I think when it comes to Israeli policy, one thing we learned, even in the testimony of the past ambassador, of all the resolutions, I think there was over 40 resolutions, 60 resolutions to misconduct in the world, and over 40 of them were toward Israel. When you had no resolutions towards Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, groups like that take away rights from women and things like that, and they spent all their energy blaming the world's problems on Israel and the Palestinian issue, and Kerry basically pushed that agenda. You got to understand, in the State Department, that happens sometimes when we go and negotiate with other nations to finance them, help them. These social issues come up in those meetings, and Kerry doesn't have a problem bringing up the LBGT issue, doesn't have a problem bringing up the Palestinian issue, two-state solution, and these are brought up in negotiations, and I think that's wrong in that sense. I'm not saying the State Department doesn't have a social agenda. I think they do. But I think the point is that we can't promote a two-state solution. We can't promote a Palestinian issue through the United Nations in our State Department. That's not our job.
Right.
The United Nations, I think it is outliving its purpose. It wouldn't hurt me, or I don't know about you.
I'd love to see it go.
See it go away.
I'd love to see it go away.
Send it to Europe. Let them have it. Let them do away with it.
And we withdraw our funding from it.
I think the funding, and there is legislation. I know Ted Cruz and others have promoted legislation to defund.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to stop what UN does, you have to dry up the funds.
Right.
And when you start drying up the funds, then what's going to happen is that they're going to have to change their policy, or they're gonna be toothless, if you want to put it that way. When they try to put bite into what they're saying, there will actually be no bite in it.
So the new sheriff in town is going to be good for AIPAC. Yeah, he's going to be good for our relationship with Israelis, with our Israeli relationship, and we may actually see a different attitude toward the UN.
Absolutely.
And that would be great.
And I think what can happen is with the joint partnership with Israel, especially on our border. Let's talk about our border issue. Israel put up walls and know how to vet people. I mean, we need to tap into that intelligence of how did they do that? How did they stop the suicide bombers? How did they stop all this stabbing that's going on in Israel? They did it through a wall, and they did it through vetting people. Now, I'm not going to lie and say there's some misconduct. You always have rogue agents. You always have rogue policemen. You have that at times as well. But as a policy, their policy is to be fair to the Palestinians, be fair to the Arabs in the country. But they stopped suicide bombs.
Yeah.
They stopped terrorism in their country for the most part by this. And I think that's where we can tap into it. The technology of walls, the technology of a fence. I think we can tap in. That's where the joint partnerships with Israel can help us, because they've done it. And it's not about a Muslim ban. It's about stopping people who want to kill us.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. AIPAC.org. AIPAC.org. Go there and see what this great organization is about. American Israel Policy.
Public Affairs Committee.
I keep wanting to.
That's right.
A Public Affairs Committee. Let me tell you something. We have an opportunity to see something that we may have lost if this election had gone a different direction. And I do believe, seriously, Tim, and everybody that knows me know that I'm a Christian first and a lover of Israel. There's no question about that. And I believe the hand of God actually moved in this.
For us, we're not here to say whether Trump's a Christian or whatever.
No.
We are here to say that he wants to do the right things.
Yeah.
And I think for us in the Israeli-American relationship, I think he's got a daughter that's married to an Orthodox Jew.
Yeah.
His history of being helping the Jewish people, even some of his country clubs. I know some of his country clubs were some of the first to allow Jews into their country clubs.
I want you to stay with me. Because I want to ask you something. I want to ask you something along that line that it was on my mind to ask you when I found out that you were going to be here with me tonight. But I want to talk about that.
Sure.
I want to talk about the design in painting him as a Nazi. Yeah. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. Hang around with me, Tim. Don't go. Folks, you stay with me, too. You want to hear this conversation. Don't go anywhere. I'm CL. This is CL Bryant Show. I want to thank each and every one of our sponsors for being there for us nearly 3 years. Michelle, we're going on 3 years on the radio. Never thought that we'd actually be able to translate it. I'd be able to translate what I do on the road into the microphone. But the good Lord has blessed me with that, and I certainly appreciate his favor. I'm CL. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
In the sun, felt like a million, felt like number one. The height of summer, I'd never felt that strong, like a rock.
CL. Back with you, and alongside me here in this segment is Tim Carskadden, Pastor Tim Carskadden. And I want to talk about this painting the new president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, as an anti-Semite. In fact, some people come out flat and call him a Nazi. What's the danger? Yeah. I'll say, Tim, from your perspective, what's the danger in that?
Well, I think that delegitimizing him is the number one purpose of that. But as we were talking before we went into break, I think he's proven his heart for the Jewish people, for Israel. He's proven that with his life. Like I said, his daughter's married an Orthodox Jew. His country clubs are welcoming the Jewish people. Most of his friends in South Florida are Jewish people. I call South Florida, Israel South.
Oh, definitely.
In the sense that it has probably more Jews there than anywhere else. And I think he's proven himself. And so to make such a statement reminds me of what the Nazis did in their propaganda wars, is to say, throw out the biggest lie you can throw out, and the people will believe it.
Yeah.
And I think if they can begin to throw that out there, then what's going to happen, it's going to create an issue for him, a divide for him, when it comes to working with Israel, even putting doubts within the Jewish people who listen to that type of media, what we call fake news that we're seeing so much of. And yet I think it doesn't waver him. It's incredible, his fortitude, his I don't know, his bullheadedness. I think if anybody could have a forehead of flint, it's that man. He is not going to stop him, and he's going to demonstrate not only with word but with deed.
Yeah.
He's going to not just say, I stand with Israel. He's going to do some things that are going to promote Israel, and he's already said that. We got the Prime Minister coming to the White House next month, and I think we're going to see some incredible alliances created there, and you're going to see a front, a national front, an international front. You're going to see those two standing together, speaking together as one concerning and I think that can help destroy some of this Hollywood, liberal slashing, broad painting him, and those type of issues.
And when we look at Trump's association, South Florida, as you mentioned, growing up in New York, as we know, and then his associations, affiliations with Hollywood, he would have to hate at least half of his lifetime associations,
there it is,
including his grandchildren.
Yes.
If he was an anti-Semite.
I know.
He would have to hate his daughter and his son-in-law.
Well, that's how ludicrous it is. And I think, I don't know why people, would believe that. I know this as a person who lobbies Congress and works with liberals and progressives and so forth. One thing we were taught in our lobbying training, we had some progressives from Obama's administration come and talk to us. And they wanted to tell us how we should lobby progressives because they said, this is how we think. And so it was a really interesting time for us. But one thing they taught us was, from their point of view, is that they're moved by their heart. They're moved by emotions. He says, you can't bring to us facts. You can't tell this is the facts of what's going on. We're not going to listen to you. If you don't touch us emotionally, if you don't understand why we do what we do, and if we don't feel like you agree with us at some level emotionally, then we're not going to give you the time of day.
Right.
Which was good for me as a lobbyist. Because now, it helps me understand their mindset. I don't understand that because us conservatives, most of us are conservatives, show us the facts.
Exactly.
Here's the fact. This is wrong.
The nuts and the bolts of this.
But you can't do that.
What holds it together? Why would it fall apart?
You have to touch their hearts.
And that's exactly how liberals have, in fact, gained control of the mindset of black people because black people are emotional people just naturally. Yes. And so when you paint that picture from a liberal perspective of emotions first and then rationale, you have a voting bloc that's going to be with you sight unseen on emotion. Obama got elected twice.
That's right.
Twice. Not on what he was about, but because of the color of his skin.
Senator Schumer just cried on national television, right? So what does that do? That empowers him to his whole party. Yeah. I was at a speech where Pelosi spoke. I'm going to be honest with you. The speech was gibberish. It was saying nothing. And I watched the audience, thousands, weeping while she's speaking,
Right.
and it woke me up as I'm like, she is touching them emotionally, even though she has no substance to what she's
Nothing
saying
at all
whatsoever.
Hillary Clinton standing in a black pulpit saying, "I don't feel no ways tired." My God.
You know,
That's all it was, emotion.
I lobbied Senator Landry one time. I probably shouldn't tell this on the radio, but I will. We were briefed about Hamas and Hezbollah in Central America and how they were coming up the coast. I mean, up the continent toward us. And so we also knew that New Orleans was a target of some of the things they were trying to do. And so I was lobbying her on an issue with Iran. And I walked in and I said, Senator Landry, I need to talk to you about what we have intelligence of, what's going on in Central America coming our way. And I said, I want you to know that New Orleans is a target of this issue. And she almost started crying in the meeting. And she goes, well, what do you want me to do? She says, do you want me to bomb them? And I said, Senator, that's not what we're asking you to do. But I touched her heart.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't move her on these issues with Iran.
Wow.
But as soon as we touched her heart about New Orleans, because she loves New Orleans.
Yeah, that's her own.
Immediately she was with us, you know. And I think it taught me something about the liberal movement is that there are ways, if you can tell stories to them, if you can relate to them about life and parables, then there's a way to reach them.
Absolutely. Tim, I thank you so much for staying with me. APAC.org. Go there. And, hey, listen, if you can make your way to Washington, Tim, you know, every time I talk to you, you renew my desire to come and be with you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but it renews my desire to come be with y'all in March in Washington, D.C. I'd really love to become a part of the organization. I'd like to become a card-carrying member. I'm serious, man.
We'd love to have you.
I'm serious, man, because I am a friend of Israel. I love God. I love God's people. Amen. And so we'll talk. I'll talk to you about it offline. But thanks so much for being here with me. You're always welcome back. Always welcome back. Thank you so much.
Love the C.L. Bryant Show.
Thank you, man. Listen, I am going to be back, everybody, here in just a little bit. There is a whole lot that we have to talk about. And we need to talk about, I'll be taking your calls, 318-320-5335, 318-320-5335. I'm CL. Don't you go anywhere. Jay, you may have to come get the phone. CL back with you. Having to do a little housekeeping here. Back with you on this Tuesday evening here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex. Now, folks, there's something that I really want you to tune in. Lend me your ears. I'm not sure if you have heard this or if you have not heard this, but I want you to hear it now. Girls who identify as boys
Big Papi
can now join the Boy Scouts. Are you hearing me? Girls who identify as boys can now join the Boy Scouts. And my question is, how did this philosophy, this progressive liberal, this gay agenda, whatever you want to call it, philosophy, invade every aspect of American life? I mean, from the church to the movies to politics, and now the Boy Scouts. Now understand, I'm just not talking about just any little girl. The girl now has to, if she identifies as a boy, if she believes she's a boy, the Boy Scouts, the BSA, Boy Scouts of America, which I was one, they now say it's okay for her to join. We're going to talk a little bit about that. 320-5335, 320-5335. Big Pappy, thank you. Big Papa, thank you for calling. What's on your mind?
Hey, man. What's going on, Brother CL?
Everything's good.
Sorry I hadn't been calling in, man. I've been up in Tennessee hanging around out of state for a while.
How you been? You're all right? How's your health? Everything's good?
Everything is good. You know, I flooded out down on Bistino back in March. That's almost a year ago. Got that all taken care of. And just God is good. He's still on the throne, brother. That's all that matters.
Yes,
man.
sir.
That's all that matters. Now, CL, I'll jump on the Boy Scout thing in just a second. But, you know, my first one I wanted to tell you, I'm so tired of people saying, and this is Sean, this is Rush, anybody, they say illegal immigrants, illegal immigration.
Right.
That's not what it is. They are not illegal immigrants. They are illegal alien invaders.
Exactly.
They are not immigrants. That is not immigration.
Exactly.
That's not what my ancestors did to come to this country.
Right.
You know, and it's just sickening. And then another thing, when you want to have these bleeding heart, left-wing, lunatic, whatever they are, and these bleeding hearts, and they want to start talking about, you know, families that are here. Like, there is no conversation. The conversation stops at illegal. That's
right.
it. There's no discussion.
Right.
That's it. There is no other sympathy story, what if, should have, maybe. They're illegal. That's it. The conversation's over.
Big Pappy, I want you to hear this clip. Hold on for me. Jay, cue that clip up for me.
I don't know if he'll be able to hear it.
Okay, Big Pappy, you may not be able to hear it, but anyway, I'm going to tell you what. Hold it, Jay. I want to make sure Big Pappy hears it, so I'm going to wait until we're off with you, so that you and be sure to stay listening to the show once you're off the line, because I'm going to play this clip and I want you to hear it. You probably already know about it, but I'm going to play it. But now, tell me your thoughts on the Boy Scouts of America.
Okay, here we go on that. Brother CL, what's happened is this media, they have tried to portray that America is like that. And they're not. That is a small minority of people. But, you know, the squeaky wheel always gets the grease, okay?
Right.
Well, let me tell you something. With Trump in there, that's not going to matter anymore. I'm telling you, people are going to have to stand up, and they're going to have to, you know, the Boy Scouts, they want to be politically correct. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. All of these different groups, organizations, television shows, people are going to have to start standing up and saying, no, that's not right. And
right.
and we're not going to listen to it. And some leader at the Boy Scouts, they have to stand up and say, no, they're not coming in and be prosecuted or persecuted or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've got to stand up for the right thing. And if you did that very often, I think this stuff would all go away. I mean, I don't mean.
I think a climate. I think a climate is now coming into season, Pappy. I believe climate is now coming into season where people will come out the closet that they've been hiding in and actually stand up like you're talking about. I believe that kind of climate is coming into season. What do you think?
I agree with you, and that's what it's going to take. All these people are going to have to quit worrying about what they're going to be called or what they're going to be labeled, because they're all lies.
Yeah.
That's not true. We're not all these things. The Republicans, the conservatives, are not homophobes and Muslim bans and all those things. No. And people are going to act like Trump does. And with Trump leading, I think people are going to say, no, that's not right. You're fake news. Don't care. Don't worry about it. Leave us alone. We're not doing that. We're not going to cook a wedding cake for a gay couple if that's against our religious beliefs.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it.
Man, listen, I'm glad you're back safe and sound. I'm glad everything's good down there on Bistineau. And when I'm coming down that way, I may give you a holler and let you know I'm in the vicinity.
Hey, I'll be back in touch, CL. Keep up the good work. God bless you, brother.
God bless and keep you. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Jay, we got 2 minutes. After the break, I want to play a clip for you that Big Pappy's talking about. I want to play a clip for you that Big Pappy's talking about, because this will give you, it will exemplify exactly the type of mindset that is needing to be dealt with and is being dealt with, even though it's causing a lot of kicking and screaming. And when you deal with something that folks have grown comfortable with, even though it's wrong, they will kick and scream to keep it. When it's time to break the baby off the pacifier, and thank God those days are long behind Jane and I, but we do remember, because we had 4 of them. When it's time to break the baby off the pacifier, sometimes they're going to kick and scream about having it taken away. Be back to talk more when I come back.
Silver hair and ragged shirt and baggy pants.
Yeah, it's time to break on through the other side. That's exactly where we are and where we're going in this country. We're beginning to break on through. We've been on the other side of midnight in this country. We really have. I don't think that people realize the dark tunnel that we're coming out of. And no, that's not because Obama. It just has to do with where we were as far as codependency meant, as a codependent mentality on government. And Obama brought that with him. Yes, he did. Jay, I want you to play this particular, folks, listen. I want you to hear this clip that we're about to play, and then I'm going to tell you, like Dan Rather used to do, I'm going to make that cardinal sin. I'm going to tell you what you just heard. Jay, do it.
Good evening, fellow SAG-AFTRA members and everyone at home and everyone in airports that belong in my America. You are a part of the fabric of who we are, and we love you and we welcome you.
That is the actor Ashton Kutcher, and he's at the SAG. I used to have a SAG card, by the way. He's at the Screen Actors Guild band gathering there that happens every year, and he is talking to, get this, a room full of people who long ago lost touch with reality. I want you to understand that. Most of them are worth well over $5 to $10 million. That's on the low end. I saw Denzel sitting there. Denzel may be approaching $1 billion of net worth, if not over that. So he was welcoming them to his America. Now, most of these people that we are talking about coming into this country, and most of us who are listening throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, unless we win the Hollywood lottery, we will never know what Ashton Kutcher or Denzel Washington's America even smells like. Oh, it's different. Oh, yeah. Even though it's the same continent, it's the same country and all of that, it's different. But the thing is, they have had money and they have had privilege for so long. It was like Tim Karskadin was talking about. The only thing that they're in touch with is emotions. They don't understand that America admits 80 million visitors to this country every year. 80 million from all around the country. Now, they wanted to call Trump a racist for labeling the countries that he wanted to keep out of here. And among them, of course, was Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Somalia, and the Sudan, and Libya, Syria being among them as well. Do you know the countries that weren't listed? But you're going to call him anti-Muslim, and you're going to call him anti-Arab and all that type thing. But do you know the two countries that were not on that list? Let me tell you the two countries that are not on that list. One is the country that has the largest Muslim population in the world. Do you know what country that is? The country where Barack Obama spent a lot of his youth. Indonesia. It has the largest Muslim population on earth. And the progressive liberals want to say that Trump is anti-Muslim, but yet the country with the largest Muslim population on earth is not on the list. Not on the list. Well, I looked at it several times. Indonesia's not there. Neither is the country that has the largest Arab population on earth. Want to talk? And Trump is anti-Arab. No, he's not. Do you know why? Because if he was, Egypt would be on the list. And they're not. So this is about countries that want to harm us. And they are, and these are the countries that Obama agreed with were threats to our nation. And there were 7 of them. And they are Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, the Sudan, Somalia, and Yemen. Because the people who have come from those countries to this country have this penchant for wanting to hurt us. But yet, we were letting in so-called immigrants from those nations into this nation, and you have an idiot like Ashton Kutcher and the SAG audience who live in Tinseltown, Hollywood, trying to tell you that somehow it's wrong to leave these people or to check these people at the airport for the greater good of America. It is hilarious to see how. And you know what really bothers me? Is that young people listen to that clown, not realizing that he doesn't want them in his America either, except for when they go to watch his dopey movies. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something else, too, we need to take store and account of is who these clowns are making these movies and just how they take us for granted in thinking that we're going to continue looking at this stuff. I want to talk to you about this when we come back. I'm CL. We'll be back.
Get yourself some cheap.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
Throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. I want to thank all of you for joining us here on this Tuesday in America. All of you folks, especially in southern Arkansas, East Texas, and in Wilmington, North Carolina, want to welcome you aboard as well. On with us now is someone who I have a tremendous respect for, not only his opinion on American Muslim relations, but his opinion on issues that are pertinent to the continuity of our American fabric, and that is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, welcome back to the C.L. Bryant Show.
Oh, CL, it's always great to be with you. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you, sir. He is the founder and president of American Islamic Forum for Democracy. And Zuhdi, forgive me, I was getting, just as I was introducing you, the news that DJT, as I call him, to his face even, his pick for Supreme Court nominee, and it will be Gorsuch, Neil Gorsuch, Judge Gorsuch, which I am very, very happy that he has chosen him. Now, Zuhdi, let's talk here. As you know, there is a lot of foolishness that is going on in our country, particularly surrounding the 7 nations, Iraq, Syria, Iran, Libya, Sudan, Somalia, and Yemen, as far as Trump singling them out as to vet them before allowing people from those countries to come in. How do you feel about those things?
Well, also let me first say I also think it's great to have somebody who was going to fill Scalia's seat be an originalist, which is fantastic. To your question, it's just bizarre. Where the country is intentionally they're apoplectic, the left, about losing control, and they are ignoring the fact that these were 7 countries Obama had listed as hotspots. These are not obviously there are 40-plus other Muslim countries, a majority that are not included. I think Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Qatar, at least, which are some of the founding father states of ISIS, probably should have been included. But they're getting whiplash. So what's happening is we finally have a president who is articulating exactly why he's doing things. President Obama had a 6-month pause on Iraqi refugees years ago, and he did it quietly into the night, and nobody paid attention, and they didn't seem to say that was anti-Muslim. It was done for national security. And I hope this 120-day stay. Now, I would tell you, I wish Syria was on the pause list also. I don't understand why the country that has a population that needs refuge the most is on the indefinite list. But anyways, this is the beginning of a conversation. We need to convene he talked about having a commission on radical Islam. I hope that's the process in which we start to look at the granular details about how this vetting is done, what the ideologies are that we block. Because right now, so far, it's only been blocking terrorists, those who believe in violent extremism, and doing biometric checks, which really don't. In every war we fought, we realized we were fighting ideas. And we're fighting a theopolitical idea that wants to destroy us. And it's been national fratricide so far to just sort of let everyone in without any vetting of ideas.
Right. And, Zuhdi, what I would like to get your take on as well is this. There is a design, it seems, in painting this president as some type of anti-Muslim, and I don't think that's it at all, because Indonesia's not on the list, and Indonesia is the largest concentration of Muslims in the world. He's not anti-Arab because Egypt is not on the list, and I think this is simply one of those America first type of things as far as the greater good for us as Americans, me, you, our children, our families. How do you see that?
It's just, you saw it yesterday, I think, Congresswoman Pelosi, as they're having their anti-Muslim ban speeches from Congress and their fake rallies that they're doing, whispering into Congressman Andre Carson's ear. He said, on a hot mic, she said, tell him you're Muslim, tell him you're Muslim. And he's one of the 2 Muslim congressmen. And, the exposure that shows is that they're simply using us Muslims as a foil. They know this isn't a Muslim ban, but they realize that there are things that candidate Trump said in the campaign that have him open to this, and this is why nuance is important, and we have to get the messaging right, and I hope he can correct some of the messaging, and that it's obvious that he's going to be strong against terror, strong against the jihadists, but we also need to, I think, ramp up from the administration what we're for, that we're for freedom, we're for liberty, we're embracing Muslims that share our values, and we just need to begin to set aside political correctness and realize that this is not, when he talked about helping persecuted minorities, the left said, oh, it's all about favoring Christians. Yeah. Are you kidding me? We have a whole commission on religious freedom. The United States has an ambassador on religious freedom that goes around the world. Yes, most of them are Muslim majority countries because they're not democracies, they're theocracies.
Yeah.
So we have nothing to be ashamed about in protecting minorities. It's what our founding fathers did, and fighting theocracy is extremely American. We shouldn't apologize for it.
Absolutely right. We're on with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, the founder and president of American Islamic Forum for Democracy. I want to talk to him about his organization when we return. I believe it is incredibly important, especially in these days and times. Going to give you the website when we return with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. I'm CL. CL, back with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president, founder of, and I want to tell you something, folks, his mission in life has been, or his mission has been to build the bridge to conversation with the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Zuhdi, tell us about the organization. What was the genesis for this? Why did you found this organization?
Well, after 9/11, here in Arizona, we realized that most of the spokespeople for our community were not showing signs of diversity, but were blaming everything on the West. Many of the leaders were anti-Semitic, even blaming Israel for 9/11. Crazy, just conspiracy theories. And we realized, boy, we have a major leadership problem. As we learned in this last campaign, the establishment was a problem. And our establishment in the Muslim community is run by what I call petro-Islam. So we realized that terrorism, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, which wasn't in 2003, but Al-Qaeda at the time, was simply a symptom of a deeper problem, which was the underbelly of radical Islam is political Islam, theocratic Islam. And while our Islam is not that, we have a lot of work to do in reform. And fast forward to 2015, we then our organization convened in Washington a Muslim Reform Movement, which is a coalition of groups that we led to the foundations and now is a year old, that includes diverse, liberal, conservative groups that all share one thing, which is a 2-page declaration that united under some simple principles that we reject any Islamic state, we reject institutionalized Sharia, we reject the caliphate concept, we believe in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and believe that states like Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc., are not only failed theocracies, but that we have to separate mosque and state. And we will use every opportunity domestically and abroad to show how that separation, just like our founding fathers, whether you look at Jefferson and Madison and others, really exemplified how you can do that within a faith community and yet love your faith and be true to your nation, which is America first.
You said something a little bit earlier that I'd like to revisit. You said that Muslims are, in this situation, are being used as a foil, an emotional foil. And it reminded me, Zuhdi, of just how blacks in this country were used as that same type of foil for a political purpose. My question is, do the progressive liberals see the Muslim population now as a possible tool in their regaining of political power, because they're certainly out on the outs right now? Is that a part of their formula to use this as an emotional tool, in your opinion?
CL, what the proof of that is, that they are using us as a tool, is that the leadership that the Pelosi's and the Schumers of the world have embraced in the Muslim community are actually the far right in our religious community.
Wow.
So the imams that they're embracing, Siraj Wahaj is a blatant homophobe. The imams that they embrace are misogynist, patriarchal homophobes who are in the 15th century when it comes to the so-called values that the left embraces, but they don't care about what they do inside the mosques or in those countries over there. If the president lists 7 countries that treat women as fourth-class citizens and treat minorities and others, the values that the left supposedly represents when they say that, we are all Muslim today and they wear the hijab in solidarity, I can tell you that only 10% of Muslim women wear a hijab.
Wow.
So they do that because the hijab is an identification of Muslims as an identity movement, rather than it being an idea where actually more liberal Muslims, which the left would embrace, actually don't believe in these types of orthodox dress that the left uses as an exploitation to use us as an identity rather than as a diverse community.
Wow. Zuhdi, I want to examine that and delve deeper into that, because I can tell just by the passion that you answered that question with is that you see the blatant hypocrisy that is going on here, that America is buying, progressive America is buying into. And Zuhdi, this is what really bothers me. Got about 2 minutes. But our students on college campuses, our young people, are buying into that blatant hypocrisy as well. Is that so? Is that the way you see it? How you see it?
It really is. I mean, look at Florida. The Orlando Pulse Club had a massive terror attack, and the Muslim leadership there said, we are in solidarity with the gay community. Rewind 1 year before, we can show you videotape of imams there locally talking about how the gay community is a plague on society and it's exemplary of America. And so I can tell you, just like violent Islamism and radicals come from nonviolent Islamism, violent homophobia comes from nonviolent homophobia, anti-Semitism is the same, etc. So the university kids are brainwashed by these Islamic groups into saying that America's anti-Muslim, is bigoted. And if we want to really counter-radicalize, you have to start at the beginning. The beginning of radicalization is the youth in America that are Muslim that are told, oh, this country hates you, and makes them into this sort of ghettoized psychology that is the pathway towards radicalization. So if you want to blame anyone for radicalizing Muslims, I would tell you it's the identity left.
Bless you, man. Listen, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, got to have you back more often. All the best. God bless and keep you, man. I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, CL. Appreciate it. God bless.
We'll be back. This is the C.L. Bryant Show in just a few minutes. With the close, I guess we'll have to. Wow, it's been a fast 2 hours. Maybe we can do 3. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Back to close it out. C.L. Bryant's show, your native son. Glad and proud Louisianian, but I'm also glad to be streaming throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known, and that is America. Hey, listen, folks, go to at Rev CL Bryant, at Rev CL Bryant. That's my Twitter handle. It was 6 hours ago I got word on the street that the choice would be Neil Gorsuch. And that's what I tweeted out about 6, maybe 7 hours ago now. I tweeted out that word on the street, and I had gotten word on the street, seriously, from sources that I have on the street, that the choice would be Neil Gorsuch. And he's going to be good. Like I opened the show, I told you I hoped it would be him. I opened the show telling you that he is a strict constitutionalist, the very best choice, I do believe, to succeed late, great Antonin Scalia. And I think that the rudder, the great rudder that turns the American ship is now fully operational again, and that is the opinion. And keep in mind, that's what Supreme Court justices do. They render their opinion. They don't legislate, but they render their opinions. And many times their opinions are made into law, not because they make them law, but because the opinion of the people we elect to office adopt the opinions of the justice, and they make laws based on opinions. Well, I tell you, it's been a quick 2 hours, and we've covered a lot. I can tell you this. I'm glad that DJT fired Sally Yates. He should have fired her, as any CEO would have fired her. And let's not forget, we did not hire a politician to this office. We hired a businessman. Yeah. And when you get a directive from the top to do such and such, in business, you do such and such, or you lose your job. Drain that swamp, DJT. Drain that swamp. I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL. And may God bless and keep you all.
And to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side, and the bond will never be torn. For those who wear the uniform.